there was just something missing. I just slowly started to sink lower and lower. And on the Air Force Academy, they have a stable. And so what I found myself doing was just going to the stable and kind of sitting on the fence post, watching people and their horses, and really longing for that connection that I had when I was younger and I had horses. Long story short, I ended up adopting a baby wild Mustang. And for the first time in a while, I felt like I really had my purpose back.
I left the military. I was medically retired after 31 years. I felt very lost. I lost my purpose. I left the sheriff's office as well. I took an early retirement out of the sheriff's office and really found myself without anything. I struggled with self-medication with alcohol.
I struggled with suicidal thoughts a lot and suicidal ideation. And I know that now I was just trying to escape pain. You know, no one wants to feel pain, and certainly nobody wants to be responsible for their own pain.
He would not let me know he was that sad inside. He shared some, but he was going to fix it all on his own as the grown-up that he was. And I had no control. I had no influence over a grown man and his choices. And his choice was that he just couldn't take the heartache anymore and the losses. And I don't think he could see the way out of the darkness. There was limited daylight, sub-zero. He hadn't seen any of us. We couldn't go there. He invited hell into his life. And I believe that at the time he did this, it was his escape from all the pain. And I think he was helping us. I think he thought he was helping us to not burden us. But what's left is a pain. It's a pain that it's my child. You don't love anything more than that. And the need for people to ask for help, if I could say anything, is whatever that gut-wrenching feeling of loss, the one that you leave behind is going to be far greater if there's anybody that you love in your life. The pain that you feel doesn't compare to the pain that's left, because I can't quit. I'm not going to lay down and let life take over me. I'm going to control it. I'm going to find ways to help people, because now that's what he would want, to tell other people his story.
I joined the Air Force right after high school in 1999 and did 4 years. And during that time, I served as a personnel specialist, but I was assigned to the 342nd Training Squadron for Combat Control, Pararescue, and EOD. Growing up, I always felt like kind of an outcast, or that I really wasn't part of a group. So being in the Air Force for me really gave me that sense of purpose greater than myself, that connection with others, the confidence, the self-esteem that I feel like I didn't really have growing up. And so when I got out, it was really, really difficult for me to transition out of that. The reason I got out of the military is because my husband and I had 2 kids, and at the time, it just made more sense to stay home. But that was really tough for me because I really, really loved my career. Even though I love being a mother, I realized that being a stay-at-home mom wasn't my only purpose. I adopted Shelby in 2003, and really I didn't know what I was about to embark on, and it was actually pretty incredible and life-changing. So I was working with these trainers, and what they were telling me when it comes to gentling a wild Mustang is that they're extremely sensitive to our emotions and the way that we show up. Every afternoon I started going out to the stable to work with Shelby, and the trainers would say, when you go into that arena, if you have any insecurity in you, the horse is going to pick up on that. So what I had to do is put myself in a state of presence, confidence, certainty, and clarity every day when I would step into the arena with Shelby. And what I now know after getting the education that I have is that I was actually creating new neural pathways in my brain to show up differently in life. After doing this for a while, I started to notice I was different in my life and in my relationships. And so when I would get into situations where I would normally respond or react or be stressed out, I was actually able to govern my mind and my body and be a little bit more in control of my emotions. I started to think about what a career would look like, and I knew the healing that I had received from Shelby, and I really wanted to be able to give that back to other people who were struggling. In 2005, I ended up moving back to Ohio from Colorado, of course bringing Shelby with me. And at the time I was rebuilding my life. I didn't have any formal education. I had been waitressing, and I decided that it was time to go to school. And I thought business was a good start. I enrolled at Owens for business, and while I was in college, I wrote a business plan to own a horse farm. I got the paper back, shoved it away in a drawer, went on with my life, and my grandfather told me about a farm that was for sale in Grand Rapids, Ohio, and he told me I should go check it out. And at the time I thought, oh, well, that's funny. I'm a waitress. I'm a single mom. I don't know how I would ever afford a horse farm, but curiosity got the best of me. I went to the farm, and when I drove through the gate, I just had this overwhelming sense of home. What I would do is I would sneak in there and I would go into the arena and I would just pray, like, okay, God, if you give me this farm, I promise I'll use it to help people. And I got an idea that I could take my dad to lunch and with my little business plan and see if he wanted to partner and go into business with me. And surprisingly, he said, let's check it out. Let's look into it. We started the process, and 30 days later, we were moving into the farm. That was really just the beginning of things. Got the farm, and we started boarding and training, and we blew up quickly. We had 40 horses within 6 months, which was a lot. And I found myself really focused on training and competing, and I got back into that world, and it just really wasn't filling my heart like I thought it would. I thought to myself, this isn't my purpose. And I shut everything down. I was soul searching. I knew I wanted to do something with horses, and I also knew I wanted to help people. And that's when I met a guy named Rob, and he told me about a program called EGALA, which is the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association, and how they have horses on the ground that help people emotionally. And as he started explaining the process, I put all the pieces together, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's how I healed. That's the process I went through to heal, but I didn't know it was what it was called, or that it was actually a modality. So it was really amazing, because in that moment, I knew that's my purpose. That's what I want to do. And in 2009, I soft opened, we'll say. And then in 2011, we officially became a 501c3. And at the time, the organization was not just about helping veterans, it was about helping the whole community. And I started to notice the need and the underservice of our military members. It is really, truly a very underserved population. And that's when I really felt led to do something about it. I created the name H.O.O.V.E.S with my dad and my farrier in 2009. I needed a more specific, targeted name. The military loves acronyms, so what are some horse acronyms that I can come up with that will really connect? And so H.O.O.V.E.S, Healing of Our Veterans Equine Services, is what we came up with. The mission of H.O.O.V.E.S is to enlist rescued horses to help veterans transform post-traumatic stress into post-traumatic growth.
I served in the military for 31 years, active duty and Indiana National Guard, and I was activated 5 different times. Was deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
After leaving the military doesn't really give you a lot of coaching, a lot of help getting back into the civilian world. They just thank you for your service, and then give you a trip back home. And after that, you're kind of on your own. I did 12 years and was cut after the original Desert Storm, so I didn't leave on my own choice.
At 17 years old, my parents had to sign the papers very reluctantly, but they knew I was going to do it anyway. I went to boot camp in the year 2000, and I spent 8 years on active duty. While I was on active duty in the Marine Corps, I served 3 tours in Iraq. Getting out of the Marine Corps in 2009 was like, you had this incredible brotherhood one day, and then the next day, it wasn't actually gone. You still had contacts. You can talk to people. However, but you're in the civilian world, and it's a very different way of operating. It's a very different way of living. There was far less support I experienced in the civilian world than while I was on active duty. I left active duty. I got married very quickly and started college, and then got pregnant and was just trying to have to figure out doctors, figure out how to get connected to services. And that was really hard because we're not, when we're on active duty, we're not necessarily taught to or encouraged to ask for help. Like, you ask for help when you need to know something as part of your training, but you're not encouraged to ask for help about something personal. So that transition was really, really difficult for me. At the time, I don't think I realized quite how difficult it was, because, again, in the military, in the Marine Corps, you put one foot in front of the other no matter what. You're doing what you're trained to do.
When I was going through medical retirement, my chain of command didn't reach out to me. I didn't get any, support from my chain of command. There was a huge loss. I didn't see the other side of it, and I came to H.O.O.V.E.S.
A lot has happened since 2011, and there's definitely been some trials and tribulations, but there's also been a lot of triumphs. And one of the things that we teach at H.O.O.V.E.S is that there's purpose or meaning behind everything that happens. And even though something seems like a struggle or a tragedy, there's a gift in it if you're willing to look for it. Just when the program seemed like it was taking off in 2013, a couple days after Christmas, my dad unexpectedly passed away. And he was my best friend, my business partner, and there was absolutely no way that I could continue without him at that time. So I had to shut down the farm, put it on the market. We had to rehome many of our horses. And I really thought at that time that might be the end of H.O.O.V.E.S. Luckily, because of the tools that I have, that we teach at H.O.O.V.E.S, when everybody thought I was just going to give up and crumble into the ground, I was actually able to get through an extremely challenging situation with poise and grace, because I knew at the time, I didn't know what the purpose was, but I knew that there was meaning behind it, and I knew that if I just stayed focused and stayed true to myself, that things would work out somehow, some way. In 2014, I ended up liquidating and selling everything off on the farm. I I found myself in a 950 square foot cottage in someone's backyard. And I didn't really know what the future held, but I had gotten a degree in marketing, so I ended up getting a job at a pain clinic, and I was doing their marketing. And that was a really interesting experience for me because I got to see kind of the other side of how people who are in pain are being treated. At the time, I didn't really understand why I was in that job, but looking back, it gave me a lot of awareness and information, and really to put together a whole piece of the puzzle. And I met my husband in 2015, and he would hear me talk about H.O.O.V.E.S all the time, and I didn't really have plans of restarting it at that time, but he said, you have to restart this. This is all you talk about. This is your dream. If you don't do it, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And I said, well, yeah, but you don't understand. It's a lot of work, and there's just so many challenges. And he just said, I'll help. Whatever we have to do, I'll help. And so in 2015, we relaunched the program, offering one-day workshops on Sundays. And the very first workshop, I remember we had only 3 people show up. And what happened that day really was life-changing. I've always been even a little skeptic of my own work, which I think is important to keep balanced. But in just 8 hours, I watched these 3 veterans have a total transformation. It was unbelievable. That was just kind of our test, and we said, okay, thanks for coming. It's winter. We're gonna shut it down. And they were like, oh, no, you're not. We're coming back next month. And I said, okay, well, as long as you guys want to show up, I'll show up. And that's how H.O.O.V.E.S was relaunched into one-day workshops. Once a month, we'd find somebody's arena, we'd haul everything there, set it up, and put on these one-day workshops. And what I realized from that is that what we were doing was so powerful that people actually needed more than just one day to process what was happening. So I had one of the participants call me on Monday morning after the Sunday workshop and say, I don't think I can go to work today because I still can't process how a horse totally transformed my life in one day. I realized that we needed to offer more than one day of this because people really needed some time to process the depth of the healing that was happening. And it was from there that we decided to offer H.O.O.V.E.S as a 3-day retreat. At this time, we still didn't have our own facility, so I rented out Maumee Bay State Park, and I rented out the stables across the street. And in October of 2017, we put on our first 3-day retreat. And I thought the one-day workshops were powerful, but what I witnessed happen in 3 days' time was really, really remarkable. And I just knew that we had something so powerful that we had to keep going and we had to keep growing. So we were barn hopping, we were renting other places, and then in 2018, we actually found a small farm, and we were able to rent that for about a year. And while it helped us get the job done, it wasn't everything we needed for the big picture, the big vision. And so I really just took it back to faith, and I said a prayer. I said, God, I'm trying to do your work. Can you please help? I'd really love 30 acres on the park with a natural water source running through it. And 3 days after my prayer, I was contacted by the lady that owns the farm that we're at now. And she said her husband had passed away. They didn't want to keep the farm, too many memories, and she was going to offer it to us before she listed it. When I came down the driveway, this overwhelming sense of home. I knew we didn't have the resources, but I thought we could get the resources, and I offered her a land contract, and she said yes. So again, 30 days later, we're moving in. It's October, and we are moving into the farm. We were able to hold one retreat that season, and it was just another layer, another level. The work is powerful, but being able to bring veterans into this farm with the long driveway and the beautiful scenery, it really is a sanctuary here, and it really gives them just this sense of calm and home that adds to everything else that we were already doing. So we really found ourselves again just at the next layer.
came to H.O.O.V.E.S in September of 2019, just prior, while I was going through the phases of the medical retirement. When I returned from Iraq in 2008, I had lost a couple of my soldiers over there. I was a platoon sergeant at that time, and I was responsible for 42 soldiers. I sent 2 home critically wounded, and 2 of them were KIA. I still have a little bit of tears for them. It's been 14 years. However, I am also grateful for what they have given, because their skills and traits and everything has spread out to the many, and they have given me the desire to help out other veterans with their PTSD issues.
Since I hadn't actually seen combat, in my mind, I didn't feel I was worthy to go through with these guys that had been through, terrible things in their lives. I actually just volunteered out there, and then one of the guys heard me tell my little story there, and he told me that for me to call him a brother, I needed to be part of this. So I went to my first retreat 4 years ago.
Several years ago, I went to a one-day retreat that Amanda was holding, and I was very reluctant to show up. It was shortly after my mom had passed away, and life as I knew it was essentially over. And I didn't want anything to do with anyone who might force me to look at things a little bit different. I was hurting, and I just wanted to stay hurting. And I showed up that one day and was pretty quiet. I'm generally pretty quiet when I show up to something new, and very quickly realized that I was going to learn things whether I wanted to or not. And the work from that day was really, it was really impactful. It helped me make sense of kind of that turmoil that I was experiencing inside, and kind of separate that, what I was experiencing with the loss of my mom as, this is grief, and it's okay.
Horses mirror the life inside of the human. So anything that we're holding on to internally, anything that we have shoved down or repressed, the horses can see that. And what they do is they bring that out, and they almost role play how you show up in life. So if you're shut down, the horse is going to be shut down. If you're anxious, the horse is going to be anxious. It allows people to see how they're showing up from a really safe space, and it also creates a safe space to become vulnerable. And vulnerability really is the first step of healing. It's being able to say, I'm not okay, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm okay. And once people do that, and they can feel safe in that state of vulnerability, that's when the real healing can take place. The veterans get to rewrite their future. So through this process, we've done what we call connecting to your blueprint. We've learned how to balance and manage our perceptions. We've reconnected with our body. And it's time to ask the question, who am I now? Who do I want to become? What are the things I want to do? What are the things I want to have? And when I can be and do and have all those things, what am I going to give back to the world? What they do is they craft this mission and vision for their life, and then they pick the horse they connected with the most over 3 days, and they take that mission statement into the arena with the horses. And they read the mission statement, and then we look for any last feedback that the horse has for them on how they can actualize their dreams. The horses do a phenomenal job of reading how much that person believes in their mission and vision. And if they don't believe it, the horse will be disconnected. And that gives us the opportunity to do a little bit more facilitation and help them see that the moment they tune in to that mission and vision, the horse is magnetized to them. And we explain how that's how it's going to be moving forward. So every morning when you wake up, if you read and connect with that mission and vision, that's going to set the tone for your day. And people are going to respond to you differently, and you're going to respond to life differently. And I think what's pretty incredible is that most of the people that come through H.O.O.V.E.S within 1 year are living that mission and vision they set that day no matter how unbelievable or how far of a stretch it seems when they write it.
It was an amazing time out there. I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that I needed to keep coming back. And now I've been back 3 more times as a mentor. I went through this year just a month ago as a mentor. It's more amazing every single day. I've changed so much. I mean, I'm a completely different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm looking forward to the next day. I'm looking forward to doing whatever the next thing is that I can do to help out and help veterans and help everybody else out. My daughter's actually going through a retreat next month, or this month, as part of the women's retreat. I can't wait to see how, what it does for her and how much it helps her.
H.O.O.V.E.S was able to provide me with that knowledge and with those skills to look at the other side of things of what I was gaining as well. I'm no longer suicidal. I no longer live in a bottle. And as a matter of fact, I'm a facilitator for H.O.O.V.E.S now. And I'm just loving life.
And I really learned just through the work with the horses that it's okay if you don't have the words, because the horse is going to show you exactly where you are in any given moment. That horse is going to reflect what you're feeling inside. And that was really helpful, because sometimes it seems you feel pressure to talk about it. Well, sometimes there's just not words. And the work with the horses really showed me that sometimes there aren't words, and it's okay. But it doesn't mean you're not going to learn something or feel something. What I learned very, very quickly is that it's not the trauma that changes. It's not what happened to you so much as what happens inside of you. And that very quickly the retreat taught me that, I am responsible for my own suffering. But once I learned that, the only thing in this world that I can control is myself, and learning to become curious and learning that out of curiosity comes compassion, that's what I got here at H.O.O.V.E.S. And I got a circle of people, of supportive people, that really was very similar to what I had in the Marine Corps.
Not only are we helping the veterans, but we're also helping the family members.
This is a good thing for people. It's the things that I believe that my son should have experienced. If my son could have come here, he'd still be here today.
H.O.O.V.E.S has helped me in my present life by continually reminding me that, radical accountability is really the only way forward, is asking yourself the right questions, and challenging your own perceptions and challenging your beliefs to really understand, if I didn't have this work, I don't know if I would be here. We did some values work in the retreat, and when I became clear on those values, it just opened up this new world of every time I'm acting outside of my values, every time something is challenging my values, there is discomfort and there is suffering. So we learned through a lot of the groundwork exercises with the horses, they just reflected every time what is going on inside of you. They just reflect you in any given moment. And that was, it led to this level of, authenticity that was very difficult to replicate outside of H.O.O.V.E.S. in May of this year, and was presented with an opportunity for a job that is absolutely aligns with all of my values and is really connected to my absolute passion and purpose, helping traumatized kids, and I'm doing what I was meant to do. I am a behavioral health and wellness coordinator for a local public school district, and on any given day I'm helping students, staff, and families connect to resources out in the community. But my favorite part of the job is really teaching social emotional learning. And what we're learning from research is if you have a child with an academic concern, that child almost always has a behavioral issue or a social emotional concern. When you have a dysregulated child, you can't meet that child with aggression. So the work that I learned here at H.O.O.V.E.S was to be mindful. I have a pretty strong mindfulness practice, which gets me through anything. You have to show up how you want to be seen, and right in those moments when you have a dysregulated child, you can't yell at them. You can't do what you want to do sometimes to diffuse the situation. You have to rely on, calm and just figure out what the need beneath the behavior is. I learned that here.
People need to know more about what's available. I think when you hear, well, there's help and you can dial 988 and you can go to counseling, there's so much more non-clinical that needs to be done. And the pills aren't it. It's self-management. Your mind is such a powerful thing.
To help bring awareness to the H.O.O.V.E.S story and the H.O.O.V.E.S program, anything I can do to raise money and awareness for H.O.O.V.E.S and just to be there to help out the program. It's what I get up out of bed every day for.
Currently, we're out here for the Bronco Bash here at Brandeis Ford, Lincoln Mercury. We're having a great time. I love coming out to these and talking with people and sharing H.O.O.V.E.S with individuals and answering questions with everybody. It's phenomenal. The people here at Brandeis has been very accommodating and wonderful with us.
Since 2011, we've helped about 450 veterans overcome their struggles. And we have a lot of local veterans, and we've also flown veterans in from all over the country, and even 2 from Canada.
If you know anybody that is in the military or is a spouse or family member of the military or police officer, fireman, anybody that has PTSD, anybody that has a stressful type of job, H.O.O.V.E.S is definitely an organization you want to get involved with. It's an amazing group of people, an amazing group of animals, and there's no other program like this in the country.
What makes this program unique is that, number one, it is non-clinical. And number 2, when people come through this program, we tell them, we are not going to heal you. We don't have the answers to your life. And the truth is that nobody can heal you. But the good news is that you can heal yourself. And when you take on the idea that you can heal yourself, there becomes no limits to your healing. So a lot of people come here and they say, well, the doctors have told me I'll never fill in the blank. And nothing against doctors, but I was also personally told that I would never heal. And I was able to make a full recovery from all of my mental health challenges. And I've been symptom-free for 12 years. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be. But I think what makes that special is that I'm just a regular human being. I tell people, I'm not special. I'm just like you. I'm a regular human being. I'm a veteran. I've had struggles. But the good news is that I've been able to fully heal and fully overcome all of this with the work that I teach and practice. And you can too. That is available to you. And just the look on people's face when they hear that is profound. Because they've been told, they've had limits placed on their healing. And I can't buy into that. I mean, I'm not healing anyone, but I'm giving people a set of tools, and the potential is limitless, really, truly is. I think seeing people open their mind to the possibility that they can be whole and they can be healed, in and of itself just sets a different precedent. It's not easy. We tell people it takes work, but I have never one time not seen this process work when people put in the work. Now, the caveat to that is you get out of it what you put into it, and not everybody is willing to give it 100%. But for those that show up and implement these tools in their life, the healing is profound, the healing is life-changing, and the healing drives what we call the ripple effect. So the veteran comes here and heals, but then they go home and then they can help their spouse, and then they can help their kids, and they can even help their friends and their communities. Even though one person comes through this program, that's five to six people that are actually going to receive healing through the tools that we teach and the work that we teach, and that military member going home and just showing up differently. And to me, that's just profound and incredible. I think these tools are critical for everyone, really, to have. And I think they can take anything that anyone else is doing to the next level. My hope for H.O.O.V.E.S is to be able to share what we're doing that's working so well with other organizations who are helping veterans. People often ask me, now that we've had the success that we have, what's next for H.O.O.V.E.S? And I would say the next step for this organization is to really take things nationally. So we're flying veterans in from all over the country, but we can only help so many people. And I think the process that has been put together, it works. I've never seen it not work. And I'd love to get it into the hands of other organizations who are also passionate about helping veterans. So my hope for 2023 or 2024 is to actually be able to take this on the road and go to other places and hold some H.O.O.V.E.S trainings. I have never met a person who doesn't know a veteran who is struggling. So if there's someone on your mind or someone on your heart, please send them this video, send them our website. We are here to help. This process works, but we need your help to grow and to reach more veterans and to continue the mission of saving lives.